Segment 3 Episode Analysis.
Which season do you think is stronger, and why? Where? Get into it. Talk about anything you really want to talk about with season one versus season two.
Okay. Well, off the top, for me, the answer is quite easy. Is that season two is the better season over season one. Even though I think, from a quality standpoint, there were certain episodes in season two that fell lower than what happened in season one. But I think in season one, the general arc of the season was more conservative, I guess you could say. Plus, everything was newer and fresher, and they were just basically setting the table for what mythology of the show was going to be.
Right.
And that I think they were still finding themselves with the show, and so they played it probably a little conservatively. Episodes were just trying to set up some basic parameters for each of the main characters. For Chuck, he was trying to basically he's coming out of a coma. He's been in a sort of a self-imposed slumber for the last 5 years, ever since he got expelled from Stanford, and he broke up with his girlfriend, or she dumped him, I guess is the more accurate description, and left him for Bryce is what we were led to believe. So this is a person that's basically had all his dreams shattered, and while he's a really decent guy at heart and always does the right thing, and often it's at the price of his own personal satisfaction. He's a pretty broken character at the beginning of the show.
I think if I had to watch one again, it would be season 2. But one thing that I really liked about season 1 is the character development for pretty much everyone, especially Chuck and Sarah, was much more, it built. It was gradual, and it built, and every episode they sort of took a step forward, and it was nice to follow it in season 1. In season 2, it was kind of a crazy roller coaster, up and down and all over the place, which I didn't like as much. It wasn't as natural to me. In season 2, it didn't flow as well, and it wasn't as much fun to watch, really, as it was in season 1. But I think overall, season 2, the jokes were better, the action was better, the overall look of the show, I think, was better, season 2. And obviously the story got better, so.
I think the main difference between season 1 and season 2 is the format of the show changed. It went from a Mission of the Week style show to a show with more story arcs that lasted more than one episode and that were more involved with the characters' past. Whereas in season 1, we just watched Helicopter, and we're watching not next week, but the week after, I think we're watching Wookiee, which is a Mission of the Week style thing. Somebody comes in, there's a bad guy, they catch the bad guys, get the mission solved and taken care of, and that's it. And there's generally some event that might last into another episode, like in Truth, when Chuck breaks up with Sarah. Some of those things will last, but mostly it was just, once a week type thing. Whereas in season 2, there's stuff like the Jill arc, which we all know I'm a huge fan of the Jill arc, but not really.
And I am a huge fan.
And you are really a huge
I
fan.
love the Jill. I love Jill.
I hate Jill, so you got the yin and yang over here.
Mm.
But that lasted. Not only did that last 3 whole episodes, but it also had long-lasting effects. It lasted 3 episodes and was still affecting Chuck in the 4th episode afterwards. And stuff like the Mauser shooting was not just taken care of in the Santa Claus episode. It lasted into Third Dimension. So that's
and beyond. When you talk about the Third Dimension, which I know a lot of people consider that like the worst episode of the series. The Mauser issue, even though they swept it under the rug very quickly at the end of it, kind of and unbelievably in a sense.
Yeah.
The effects of that were long lasting, really up until Lethal Weapon or something,
Yep.
Even though they kind of said like, oh, they talked about it, there was a weird feeling between those two all the way up until Lethal Weapon.
Oh, yeah.
I think that for me, season 2 is an immensely better season than season 1. Of course, there's more episodes too.
I think it's more interesting. It's some people aren't necessarily into, Chuck's past and Sarah's family and, how the intersect came to be. Some people aren't into that. Some people just
want mythology, that's right. The best stuff.
Some people are not into that. Some people want to just be entertained for the hour and not even think about it. But we want to know why everything is and who everyone is and Chuck's family and Sarah's family. So, and since season 2 has tons more of that, I find it more interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And what do you see for season 3? I mean, we know that there's a large mythology now building now that he has the second or third intersect in his head. We've talked about in different forums and even on Skype and things like that the potential of Chuck not being able to utilize the power whenever he wants and all that stuff.
And if Chuck has these abilities, he might, unconsciously become a little too cocky, and he might bite off more than he can chew in a mission and end up getting hurt or something like that.
But there's something that you've talked about before, and I think that we may have finally received that, which is someone that Sarah can actually talk to, and that would be awesome.
Yes, yeah, and it would be great if Sarah had somebody that she could, talk honestly about things. I imagine I don't know how they're going to play with that at the beginning of the season or during the course of the season, but Devin's obviously going to realize in short order that Chuck's and Sarah's relationship is not nearly as developed as everybody around them is believing. So his reaction to the fact that they've been going out for a year and a half and really haven't done anything is probably going to be priceless.
Well, I think that at this point, I think Chuck and Sarah, something has to be different, like in terms of their setup. I don't just mean how they feel. I mean, like, story-wise, like, physically, even their setup. Like, I think they should move in together, or something has to be different. I think 2 seasons of basically the same thing is enough.
Yeah.
I think that with the new Intersect, I would like to see Chuck. I don't need to see him go through any training or anything. I'd like to see him sort of learn on the fly as he's always done. As for the Chuck and Sarah stuff, I don't even want to guess because I have no idea. The pessimist in me wants to say it's going to be the same. The optimist says that they'll actually do something different, and I have a feeling it's going to be somewhere in the middle, so I don't know exactly what that is. I'd like to see Awesome get a little bit more involved with what Chuck is doing. And the Buy More, as long as the characters are back and those relationships are intact, I don't really care what happens with the Buy More, but I still want to see Jeff Lester, Morgan, and Big Mike together. I really, really want them to have a recurring bad guy, like someone you see almost every week.
We need a character like Vincent as the bad guy, and I know Vincent's supposed to be dead at this point.
I didn't know I didn't see him die, and on top of that, he was so cool. They didn't give him any kind of send-off. He was the Mummy.
He's basically the Boba Fett of Chuck, right?
Yeah. Well, he just sort of blew up amidst a bunch of people, and it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not a cool send-off for such an awesome bad guy who probably, I mean, I'm sure the actor costs too much, and so, they just have to get rid of him. But we need a guy like Vincent, like a character like that.
Yeah.
Someone who can be a reoccurring bad guy, which kind of focuses, who they're fighting or whatever.
Well, yeah, and it makes things clearer, and that way they don't have to sort of manufacture all these crazy things every week, like the triad or whatever. They don't have to really do that.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it makes it easier or harder for them, I don't know, but I would think they would enjoy having another character to develop.